Yes, you have to take into account costs, but more than that, you have to account for
Mr.
the human growth of
Mr.
a
Steyer,
culture and a
thank you.
team.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Ms. Porter, Toby from Costa Mesa wants to know, do you agree with schools not notifying parents if their child identifies as a different gender? You have 30 seconds.
It is between a parent and a child when a child chooses to have that conversation. The job of our educators is to teach them to read by third grade. That is a really important benchmark to help them make the jump from Algebra 1 to Algebra 2, which opens the door to higher paying jobs. These are conversations for kids and parents to have with each other and their healthcare providers. This is not a role for schools to be policing personal decisions.
Ms. Porter, thank you. Mr. Mahan, John Carlo from Los Angeles asks this. How would you communicate with Donald Trump if he attacks you directly or policies valued in California? You have 30 seconds.
Well, just as I've done as mayor of San Jose, when the Trump administration threatens California's people, our funding, our values, I'll fight back. We'll use the courts in San Jose. We've sued this administration over a dozen times. We've funded legal services for our immigrant neighbors. We have used every tool at our disposal. But I will also find ways to invite federal agencies to help us rebuild LA, reduce fire risk. We need a partnership. We need to find common ground with this administration on certain issues.
Mr. Mahan, thank you. Frank.
We'd like to move on to our next question. Many Californians cannot get home insurance anymore, or their premiums have skyrocketed. Insurance companies blame wildfire risk and catastrophic losses. Many have left the state. California's FAIR Plan, a last resort option, is being swamped and is becoming a crisis for the state. Mr. Bianco, this round begins with you. What is your plan to attract private insurance companies back to California? You have 60 seconds.
Again, we're going to be honest about the problem. The problem is our California state government, is our California state regulations that are affecting the insurance companies. Various regulations affecting the insurance companies, but particularly, they told us why they were leaving. They told Governor Newsom for 5 years in a row that they were going to leave if he did not change the environmental policies and protections that prevented our fire agencies from creating defensible space around our homes, our cities, and our buildings. They told him they were going to lose cities and they couldn't afford to cover it, so they were going to have to leave. So the answer is remove the regulations. Let the fire agencies create that defensible space. We are being absolutely controlled by environmental activism in this state that runs every single regulatory board. And as governor, I will remove that special interest from California state government.
Mr. Bianco, thank you for that. Mr. Hilton, what is your plan to attract private insurance companies back to California? You have 60 seconds.
We have to be clear about why they left. They left because of Democrat policies and wrong-headed regulation. Now, some of those mistakes have been corrected. The ability for insurance companies to price in future risk, the ability of insurance companies to account for reinsurance costs. But we still have wrong regulation. And this is the three-point plan that I've announced to fix this absolutely massive problem that is crushing so many families across California. Number one, we've got to get people off the FAIR Plan. It was designed for about 100,000 people. Now you've got over 600,000. We've got to work proactively.
Let Mr. Becerra talk.
Commercial insurance. Number two,
they're not asking him.
Stick to the regulatory framework that was in the original proposition that set up the insurance department. 60 days to approve rate changes. Sometimes now it's over a year. And number three, we have to stop these
Let Becerra in.
often filed by private equity from out of state that are increasing the cost of insurance.
All right, Mr. Hilton, thank you. Mr. Steyer, what is your plan to attract private insurance companies back to California? You have 60 seconds.
Well, skyrocketing home insurance is one of the huge problems facing California homeowners. And it's a result of
They're going back and forth, not letting Becerra in
houses being burnt down and therefore
on the
insurance
conversation.
companies wanting to get paid for that risk. What California needs to do is reduce that risk. We need to reduce the risk of catastrophic fire. What does that look like? On a macro basis, it looks like controlled burns, reducing dry timber. On a micro basis, it means hardening houses, keeping vegetation 5 feet away, and other things. We can reduce the risk of houses burning in catastrophic fire by 90%. The point is going to be, at that point, we need the insurance companies to start writing home insurance based on the reduced risk. And it's the job of the governor
to insist that they take into account the reduced risk. Insurance companies are lazy. They like to drive by a house and make a decision. When we're hardening houses and reducing risk by 90%, the governor's job is to make sure that they do the work, that they take it into account, and that housing insurance goes way down.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Nikki?
Ms. Porter, what is your plan to attract private insurance companies back to California? You have 60 seconds.
First, I just want to acknowledge that so many who have been affected by wildfires have not received the federal aid that California deserves from the federal government because of Donald Trump. I also want to say, as a consumer protection advocate, I would absolutely hold insurers' feet to the fire to make sure they pay out damages when homes have been burned. I think the solution is to have more insurance companies and more competition, but they're going to do that when we have reduced wildfire risk. We cannot afford to not act to reduce wildfire risk. We all lose. Families who lose their homes more than others when we face these kinds of catastrophic wildfires. So fighting climate change and fighting wildfire risk is ultimately how you reduce the number of people who are forced onto a fair plan that is unstable and not financially sustainable for taxpayers.
Ms. Porter, thank you. Mr. Mahan, same question to you. What is your plan to attract private insurance companies back to California? You have 60 seconds.
Well, Nikki, I've walked through the
They're
past
going
years
back and forth, back and forth to every person, except for Mr. Becerra.
As governor, I will take responsibility for ensuring that we better manage our public lands. We have to reduce the fire risk at the edge of our urban areas so we're not putting homeowners at risk. And when you have those catastrophic fires, it pushes
Every
costs
single one of
for
them
everyone. We need to bring
answered
the
questions,
insurance market back,
except for Mr.
force them
Becerra.
to compete with
They're
one
not
another
letting him
on
in.
value, allow them to appropriately price risk, and when they play
And the
games
person
with
asking the
regards
question,
to
you know who they're voting
switching
for.
adjusters and dragging out the process of paying
Let's
out
put that
claims,
out there.
they must be held accountable by the state, and I'll make sure we do that.
Mr. Mahan, thank you. Mr. Becerra, what is your plan to attract private
Finally.
insurance companies back to the state of California? You have 60 seconds.
I won't be as lenient as some of the responses you've heard. I believe that it's time that we get behind the curtain and find out how these insurance companies are operating. Because there are still people in Altadena and Pacific Palisades who have not been paid on their claims from back in January 2025. That is ridiculous. Every month they paid their premiums. Some people had never filed a claim, yet when they finally filed this claim for these wildfires, they still can't get an answer to the question how much they get and when they'll get it. That is not right. We should hold their feet to the fire. I'll make sure that we take on all the issues of wildfire mitigation. Sure, you have to harden your home. We have to make sure we don't have developers building in high-risk areas. We'll do all those things. But first and foremost, insurers owe those consumers, those people who paid their premiums responses. They paid their premiums. They are owed a response on their claims. It's ridiculous that people have had to wait more than a year. That is not the way you treat a customer.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Frank?